Only what you gon' do tonight. This is what we came for. Let's find out what we're made of tonight. The way you rock the dance floor, I can feel your heartbeat on mine. I don't know what I'm in for, but baby, keep it going. I don't mind. We dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching. My hands on your body, surroundings getting foggy tonight, but we just getting started. So physical and flawless unite, and we just wanna stay here. It's obvious, it's so clear now. I know what I'm in for, so baby, keep it going. I don't mind. We dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's in the street. Dance like nobody's in the street. We dance like nobody's in the street. Dance like nobody's in the street. We dance like nobody's watching. We dance like nobody's watching. We dance like nobody's watching. When you rock the dance floor, I can feel your heart.
Well, hello. It's your friend Kevin, and we are on number 8 of our commitment to change. Let me put the list up for you so that we can see where we are. We've gone through number 1, seek the truth. Number 2, be willing to come apart. Number 3, step out of your comfort zone. Number 4, commit to growth. Number 5, shift your vision. Number 6, drop what you know. Number 7, relax with what is. And what we're doing right now today is removing the rocks. So let's go see what removing the rocks has to say for you. Okay, so it's one thing during meditation and physical practice, yoga or walking or exercise or what have you, to actually physically change. We can go about our business of acting or doing, or the doingness of the doingness of the doingness of the doingness. And yet there's still these mental boulders, these mental lumps of granite that sit in our mind that continue to just block the way through. And initially, when I first began this personal growth way back in the 80s, I knew that there was a way to the way to the way to the way. It began with the channeling lessons I learned. To become a channel means to get out of my own way and to let a spirit basically come and talk and speak, as I've done before lately with this alchemist. But then the rocks were never really gone. They just had formed a different way of blocking my way in. I took rebirthing classes where that's conscious connected breathing, and that was a good principle in removing some of the inner layers of the tension. If any of you have ever gone through rebirthing practices, it is fast, rapid, conscious, connected breathing with a a certified coach that's certified to watch body rhythms and body languages, because literally that kind of built up tension and that kind of built up physical energy inside the physical body, when you do that conscious connected breathing and you enter those layers, those levels of brainwaves, physical tension tenses up. My fingers and my toes almost became like cramp-like. And then I fast forward, I came up here to Charlotte and experienced a lot of different adventures and all sorts of things. And the rocks and the blocks and the things that I had carried with me were still there. These boulders were still there. And I was not aware that they were there. They were there, but I was not aware of what they were there to do. And slowly but surely, bit by bit, process by process, experience by experience, I learned to look at them and see them. And then eventually what seemed like a boulder, a blockage, something to stop me from moving forward, which was my own thoughts and feelings, began to break down and break apart. And it takes real effort to go into the psyche of your mind, the psyche of your spirit, and unearth, break down, and remove all of those obstacles that had gotten in the way or that were in the way. There's a term that I heard a long time ago called finding your center. And so on a mental level, we think the center is inside of all of us, this magical place that's filled with love. And indeed, when I've listened to many meditations, the idea is to fill your heart with the love, see the light, see it expanded outward. I came up with, or at least was channeled through, a statement that I still use: go within and you won't ever go without. Going within, finding that center, listening to your inner voice, listening to your inner guidance, becoming aware of what's happening is the key to offloading, unloading, removing all of these rocks, all of these boulders that got placed upon us as we grew. It is our natural way of being to be blissful, to be playful, to be in alignment with who we are naturally. That angelic individual that just loves life, enjoys everything about life. If we look at iconic people that are alive today, such as the Dolly Partons of the world, you would look at Dolly Parton all done up. She never really appears to have a terrible day. There are others. One that I can think of that comes to mind now is the late Maya Angelou, whose poetry and prose and books were quite something inspirational. And indeed others that have gone before have the appearance of grace and the appearance of just living in that blissful space, that blissful place. You look at the Dalai Lama and you imagine, how in the world could the Dalai Lama ever have a bad day? Look at any of the Tibetan monks, all of them. They all have this serene, blissful way of being. They constantly are working with their own awareness, listening to a higher calling. The challenge that we have when we come to removing the rocks is fear. It's this fear that if I change, if I commit to change, if I make the changes, I'm going to be somebody different. I'm not going to recognize who that person is. Or more often for myself, it was, I can't imagine what that would be like. I can't imagine who I would be, how I would be, what I would be. And yet, if I'm really quiet and centered, I look at the things I have done and what I have accomplished, and I'm astonished that I've even done it. So it seems like this opposite thing we've got going on, this fear-based person and this adventurous person, going back to what wolf are you feeding? What part of yourself are you feeding? And then there's a realization that talking our stories, telling our stories, getting caught up in our stories, the drama, that's also a rock. That's also something we lean into because that's what we believe we are. Take for case in point, if we feel like we don't have enough money to have the lifestyle that we want, we won't have enough money to have the lifestyle we want, because the not having the money is the rock that's in the way. Not the idea that there will always be enough money, or the bigger idea that it doesn't matter how much I spend, there will always be more to spend. There's always this rock in place that says, I shouldn't, I couldn't. Recently, I was playing with that notion that the Earth, planet, the galaxy, more planets, the entire system of all of it, the whole entire universe, is constantly expanding. More expansion, more expansion, more expansion. Do I believe that the Earth, the planet itself, is getting physically bigger? I don't know. Are there more and more people inhabiting it? For sure. In my short 60 years, almost, I believe the population has increased. I believe our ability to expand our health and live longer lives has increased. I believe our ability to advance technology, to click, switch, turn on, all of these things has vastly increased. So for me to imagine that we are not increasing, getting larger and larger and larger and bigger and bigger and bigger, would be preposterous. So I know this. No one sent me to a class and got a degree in global expansion. I just know it. It's just one of those things that you just sort of accept. Then there's a piece of me that is having a harder time accepting that expansion. The idea that we can all have access to this greater expansion. Using our current westernized world, and I'm in the United States, so I'll use that as a example. During the news cycle, post lockdowns, if you will, there were talks on both sides of the political arena. I'm not going to go into parties because there you go, left and right, up and down, in and out. There were these debates about how much money it would take to keep the economy buoyant. And I remember thinking, they're talking in terms of trillion with a T. Me, myself, and I can't imagine what million with an M is, let alone billion with a B. Now they're in trillions with a T. And now they're in hundreds of trillions. These are expansion I cannot even imagine. So then I thought to myself, well, let's look at it in a different way. For every single monetary dollar or pound or coin, unit of measure, if you will, unit of financial measure that we've ever got so far in the life that we've lived at this point, if we calculated how much that was, that we actually physically received, I can't imagine what that would be. It probably would be upwards and over the hundreds of thousands if it wasn't the millions. And then taking that same amount, how much we've actually spent, given out, let go, given to other places, other people, other things. And it's likely going to be somewhere close. Now take that away and look at breath. Breathe in and then breathe out. When we breathe in huge gulps of air into our lung capacity and expand all those pockets, we don't hold it in there. We don't keep it in there like okay, we're going to hold on to this breath. If we don't hold on to this breath, we're just going to die. Oh my gosh. We let it go. And we don't go around taking big gulps of breath in and pushing big gulps of breath out, as in the rebirthing techniques, although we should. Think about how much oxygen your body needs to survive, and we're not giving it anywhere near what we should, which is why upper respiratory, COPD, and other lack of oxygenated blood circulation is prevalent. It's why the healthiest people get out there and breathe. Even though right now it's challenging because the inside group exercise types of facilities aren't able to operate fully as they used to because of this lockdown. Interesting though, there are folks who decided through this that they were going to exercise come what may and went ahead and invested in home-based gym equipment or invested in subscription-based fitness apps. They weren't going to skip a beat. They just took that boulder, that rock, that obstacle and moved it and said, listen, this is not an obstacle for me. I'm going to keep going. Thank goodness for a company like Zoom, who then turned around and said, listen, get on an annual plan. You can have as many people at a meeting as you want to. And eventually we adapted to these home-based, I've got one, broadcasting places. I mean, I adapted. I took the rock away that was a boulder that could have said, oh my gosh, my business is in this, and stuck in that drama, that story, and said, let me do something else with it. Let me turn this around and make it into something else. So removing the rock is literally recognizing the fact that the limitations you have, I have, we have, the world has, is a limitation of that lives up in here, in these thoughts. Louise Hay said in her You Can Heal Your Life book, which is brilliant, by the way, thoughts and feelings is just energy moving through the body. Energy moving through the body. So I want you to think of the thinking that you're doing, the stinking thinking, the stories, the drama, what you keep saying, what you keep making up. Oh, I can't, Allah, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, oh la 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 la. All of that ticker tape of stuff, as being a bag full of rocks that you are dragging around with you. Now, you can take all the yoga classes you want, all the exercises classes you want. You can run on the treadmill until you can't run anymore. You can eat the most healthiest of foods. You can go on retreats. You can go on spas. You can do facial enhancements. You can do all these things to yourself to create a better experience, a better place, a better person. But unless you remove the rock, the piece, the thought, the feeling, get to what it is that created it to begin with, that's just the way to the way to the way to the way. And the way really is inward. It really is looking at, why do I think I need to? Why I think I should? For instance, for me, the first way of undoing that was why. When we're little and we get told no, any curious child says, why? When we grow up and we go through really good education streams, a teacher, a really good teacher, I meant to say, will say to you, I want for you to look at the problem and justify why the problem's there to begin with, and see if you can see your way out of the problem. It's sort of like inquiry work. That's what we call it. Inquiry work. Boulders and rocks and problems and blockages and limitations will always exist. Looking at them in a way that they could be removed, broken down, or erased is how we work with them, how we release them, how we let go of them. Think about a baby or a child. They don't have worries about bills, paying bills, money coming in, money coming out. They don't have to worry about that. Somehow they know someone's going to feed them. Somehow they know they're going to grow. Somehow they know there's going to be clothes to fit them. Somehow they know their legs get longer, their arms get longer, their body gets bigger. And then, in some households, they've got those measuring things up the side of the door. This is where you were at 6. This is where you were at 8. This is where you were at 10. And we listen to parents of teenagers saying, oh my goodness, my son just shot up, gone through this many shoe sizes, gone through this many pant sizes. So we don't really consciously think about growing. We've been doing it our entire life. And then somewhere in the 20s, the growing stops. Somewhere in the 30s, the mental, emotional way of being and the fun kind of stops. It moves into some other place. In the 40s, it takes on a whole nother thing. In the 50s, oh my goodness, we want to stop this aging process, slow it down, start feeling more vibrant. In our 60s, we're hopefully glad we're still here doing what we're doing, still holding on to this idea that we don't really want to look like we are the age that we are. In 70s, I think it's like a blessing. Who knows? I'll let you know when I get there. I think the point I'm making right now, and I'll get to the cards, the rocks you have in your life, the limitations you have in your life, the things that you believe you're limited by are only limited by you. They're not limited by anybody else but you. And you can still go around that circle, that cul-de-sac of blame and pointing fingers, and if Aunt Edna hadn't done this, and if Uncle Fred hadn't done that, and if Gertrude, and if cousin, and if this one, that one, the other one, and that girl around the corner, this so-and-so. So you can look at all of that. It's a story, which is a rock. The person who goes for the job and says, listen, I'm working 3 jobs, making this much money in order to pay my bills. My favorite job is this one. I would like to do this one well. So I'd like to eliminate the other 2. I'm asking you to pay me the money that I would be getting from all 3 put together so that I can give all my time to you and follow my passion and not be so worn out at the end of the week. An employer might say, oh, I don't know about that. That seems to be a bit of a tough thing, we'll have to look at the budget, we'll have to see. And they go around in their own rocks. Can they justify this? Can they pay that? Can they not pay this? Can they not pay that? The person asking for the extra money that really is being quite truthful and honest and looking at the whole point says, well, all right, when you decide, let me know. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to my other 2 employers and ask them what I'm worth. And then at the end of the day, if the other 2 employers are saying, I'm so sorry, you don't qualify for a raise, my hand is going up. I do qualify for a raise. I deserve a raise. I want to get paid what I feel like I'm worth. And what I'm worth is what I'm able to pay my bills with. And this is not cutting it. So I need to go find somewhere that will. And off they go. It is the idea that we're not powerful. Well, we are. The idea that we can't be truthful, but we should be. These are the rocks. These are the things that get in our way, which is why meditation, sitting quietly, going within, being led by a bigger power is so challenging, because it's so difficult to find that way in, because the way in is through all these obstacles that we put in our place to begin with. It's about clearing out the emotional closets. I hope that's been helpful. I was asked yesterday by somebody to do a video on abundance and understanding that we shouldn't be speaking in lack, which is another difficult thing to do. I'm going to toy with that, play with that, see where that comes from, because I think it's important. Meanwhile, let's get to the cards and see if our cards match up with this removing the rocks. All right. Father in the sky, Mother in the earth, angels and ancestors, beings of love, beings of light, thank you for reminding me and us of your presence and for revealing to all of us what we need to know. Thank you for leading us where we need to go. We are safe. We are free. We are open and receptive to whatever messages you bring us today. Here we go. That one feels like it's right. Power and intention is what we have. Let me put this up on my handy little vase. Let's see if I raise it up. I can't raise this. There we go. That's better. Can't really take this camera down lower. I'm going to figure out a way to do that. Another removing of the rocks, but this one's a good one. Power and intention. We see an angel, somewhat of an archangel, that stands with a staff on his left hand and wings right behind his shoulders. Nothing huge and big. To me, he just reminds me of this lovely, resonant alchemist, like a magician, teaching us that when the power and intention card shows up, it's there to give us an alignment or being aligned with the highest good and act with love and consideration. When this card and this energy and this angel shows up, the power that we have within us becomes intensified. So when we draw this card, the angels are drawing close to give us this reminder. We all have the capacity to be a leader and a guide. And this card signifies that we're being encouraged to align ourselves with love, align ourselves with our highest truth, our highest good, and act from that place of the heart. When the power arises within, we can find our ego gets louder as well. So this is because it wants to be limited and it wants to question or stifle any kind of growth that we have. Don't let any of your limiting beliefs and thoughts and feelings, particularly of other people, hold us back. Call in the angels and invite them to help loosen some of those rocks, loosen some of that resistance. Let the voice of your soul be heard so it can move forward powerfully. You're being encouraged to connect with with the initial ideas and intentions that you had about anything that you want to do. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you've been doing, if you've allowed rocks, if you've allowed obstacles, if you've allowed limitation to get in the way, this card is representing the fact that you need to return to the initial intention and stick with it. It didn't go anywhere. We all have this initial intention about doing great things. And over time, those ideas and intentions, they change. But the universe still responds to the initial intention. We let those intentions go to the universe and we put the universe in motion to making it happen. Case in point, that if you're confused about anything or how to move forward, just recognize that you, me, us, all of us, we're powerful and we've got the ability to influence that powerful energy. This card says, have a clear conversation with God and your angels about the intentions and recognize that what's unfolding right now for you has the power for you to live your life with grace and spiritual and potentiality. That's really what we all want, to live from that place of grace and potentiality. We are all potential. I'm constantly reminded, and I think it's because I'm supposed to see it. I didn't come here to be mediocre. I didn't come here to be just a simple hairdresser. I'm not saying I'm going to end up being the president of some country. No, thank you. I don't want that. No, thank you. But to be able to lift and lead and gently move myself and those I care about and love forward, gently, bit by bit, piece by piece. And in different times in my life, I've, almost had to smack myself like, yeah, don't be so silly. Don't be so limiting. Don't shut yourself down. Other friends have said, why are you just marginalizing yourself? It's time to expand and grow. And my friends, this time right now, where everybody's distracted by whatever else is going on out here, that's the perfect time to fly forward. That lane, possibility, potentiality, love, divine, lifting, joy, all of that energy it seems like that's a highway that's clear as a bell. The other highway, frustration, lack, all of that stuff, those people speaking in those terms, that highway's chock-a-block. That's a big, huge traffic jam. Which highway do you want to be on? All right, my friends, until next time, lots of love. See you soon. Bye.